Okay, good morning. Today we're going to be talking about fractions and decimals. The big idea here is that fractions and decimals represent the same value. They represent the same value, but just in two ways. We're going to see that 1/2 and 5/10 are the same thing, or 0.25, 25/100ths, and 1/4 are the same thing. So again, it's the same values, just represented differently. So today's lesson is going to be about how, if you have a fraction, how can you convert it into a decimal? And if you have a decimal, how can you convert it into a fraction? Let's start with, and as a reminder, everything that I write on my sheet needs to be written down in your notebook. Feel free to pause this video at any time and get caught up, or rewind if you need to hear something again. So let's start with converting fractions to decimals. And our rule here is we're just going to divide. When we have a fraction and we're trying to turn it into a decimal, we're going to just divide. We've actually done this already in class. Maybe we didn't recognize them as fractions. So let's take a basic one. Let's do 1/2. There's my fraction. I want to change that into a decimal. All I need to do is divide. I'm going to do some long division, and I'm going to add some decimal points to it. So as always, my top number, my numerator, goes inside the box, and my denominator goes outside. Now, since I'm converting into a decimal, and I don't have any decimals right now, we know from our last unit of study that we can always add a decimal point and as many zeros as we want. I'm going to pop that decimal place up. I'm going to put my footprints in, and I am ready to divide. 2 doesn't go into 1, so I'm going to put a 0. 2 goes into 10 5 times. 5 times 2 is 10. Subtract, nothing left over, nothing to bring down other than a 0. So here is my answer right there, 5/10 or 0.5. So again, we just proved that 1/2 and 0.5 are the same thing. We converted the fraction into a decimal by just dividing. Let's do another one. Let's do 2 1/8. Now let's do 2 3/8. Okay, so we have a mixed number here. So for now, we're just basically trying to convert this fraction, 3/8, into a decimal. We can set that 2 aside for now, and we'll bring it back at the end of the problem. So I need to turn 3/8 into a decimal, and I do that by dividing. So the 3 is going inside the box. Now I'm going to add a few zeros because I think I'm going to need them. And now I'm ready to divide. 8 goes into 3. 0 times 8 goes into 30. 3 times, yes, 3. 3 times 8 is 24. Subtract. I got 6 left over. Bring down this 0. 8 goes into 60. I think that's going to be 7 times, because 7 times 8 is 56. Subtract 4. Bring down that last 0, and 8 goes into 40 5 times. And 5 times 8 is 40, and I'm done. So I just converted 3/8 into 0.375, or 375 thousandths. I'm going to bring that 2 back into the equation because it is a mixed number. So my answer is 2.375, or 2 375 thousandths. 2 375 thousandths. Okay, cool. So we started with fractions and we got decimals. Let's flip it around. What happens when we are converting decimals to fractions. Our new rule there is we say the number aloud. So we say the number aloud. Let's see what that looks like. So again, we're starting with decimals. Let's start with this one right here, 0.2. But the 0.2, that doesn't really give me a fraction. So instead, we always want to say it with the place value. So this is, the 2 is in the tenths place. So saying this number aloud is 2 tenths. And there's my fraction right there, 2 tenths. And there's a fraction, 2 over 10. But as we learned today, we can reduce this down. We always want to reduce our numbers as far as we can. When we're reducing, we're looking for a number that both of those numbers are divisible by. Well, I know that they're both even, so I can divide each of those by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So 2 tenths is converted into 1/5. We took a decimal and we turned it into a fraction. Let's do another one. Let's do 5 and 3. Nope. Let's do 5. 5 and 75 hundredths. 5 and 75 hundredths. Now, just like this one we did up here, this is kind of like a mixed number, or we're going to end up with 1. So let's just focus on the decimal and converting this decimal, this 0.75, into a fraction. Well, this 0.75, that doesn't get us anywhere. We have to say the place value. That's 75 hundredths. The 5 is in the hundredths place, so that's what I say at the end. 75 hundredths, and there's my fraction right there. 75 over 100. 75 hundredths. Now, this is an unreduced fraction. We have a fraction, which is good, but let's reduce it down. Now, I know that these two numbers, they both end in 5 and 10. Sorry, 5 and 0. So they're definitely divisible by 5, but I'm wondering if there's another number that they're divisible by that's even bigger, so that I don't have to reduce and then reduce and then reduce. Well, if I think about quarters, a quarter is worth 25 cents. 25 plus 25 plus 25, 4 quarters equals 100. Well, how many quarters do I have if I have 3? Well, that's 3. If I have 3 quarters, I have 75 cents. So I can divide each of these by that quarter, that 25 cents. Each of these is divisible by 25. So 75 divided by 25 is 3. 100 divided by 25 is 4. So there is my fully reduced fraction. But let's not forget, we started with the whole number 5. So my final answer is 5 3/4. We took 5.75, or 5 and 75 hundredths, and we converted it to 5 3/4 from a decimal to a fraction. That's all I got. Thanks for listening.